British Spy Stories. Season 3. Official Denial. Episode 24. The British Embassy in Budapest is a modern white and grey concrete affair, locked behind a high metal fence with CCTV cameras, in one of the best neighbourhoods of the city. Oxford has sat in the offices in this building every day over the last few years, but he's never been in the holding cells before. The room is a square box, 12 feet in every direction, with one window high up on an outside wall above his head. He slept well, which surprises him. The bed is a single, but not narrow. The guard is a military sergeant who has stared at Oxford each time he has come in and delivered food on a red plastic tray. But the man has said little. Oxford hears approaching footsteps from the stone corridor outside, then the jangling of keys, and one key being slotted into the lock before the door opens. "Warrant, you got a visitor," says the sergeant. Nick looks at the door expectantly, and Erica steps into view.
"Nicholas, I came to see you,"
she says, and she smiles at him. She is carrying another red tray with 2 mugs on it.
"They have given me these cups of tea."
She sits down next to him on the bed, as it's the only place to sit. She carefully hands him one mug, takes the other, and leans the tray against the end of the bed.
"How is your mind, Nicholas?"
Her eyes narrow, and she looks at his face carefully, scanning his features. "Okay," he says.
"What are you thinking about?"
"Right now?"
"Since you have been locked up,"
she says.
"Are you thinking about your future?"
"No, not really. More about what will happen next."
"Do you know what will happen next?"
"No," he says.
"Then you guessing is a waste of time, really. You would be better off thinking about your future."
"I'm not sure I have much of a future."
"You're not thinking of suicide again, are you, Nicholas? Because I said I don't want you to do that."
Oxford smiles. "Yes, you said." Erica nods, mostly to herself. Then after a few seconds, she says,
"What can I do to help you, Nicholas?"
"I'm not sure."
"Will you go to prison, I think, in England?"
He nods.
"I can write to you. Keep up your spirits."
Yes, you can." He smiles again.
"That's making you smile, Nicholas. That's good. Together we will make you feel better, even though you're in prison."
She puts her hand on his and gives it a tiny squeeze. The gearbox in this old Peugeot is annoying Victor. Every time he changes up, he has to wrestle with the stick until it falls into place, and he can feel the engine engage. The lights change to red as he pulls up outside the Bluebecker Hotel, and he waits for his signal to go. As he is sitting there, he looks at the doors to the hotel and sees that Sabrina girl coming out into the street. She stops at the curb and sees that the lights are red. She walks out amongst the cars waiting around Victor. But she's not looking inside the cars and passes in front of his Peugeot. He watches the woman as she continues walking off in the direction of the city centre. A horn blares immediately behind him, and he looks up to see the lights are green. Victor turns into the access road, then down the ramp to the hotel parking. He pulls out the gate pass card that he stole 2 days ago from the reception, and the barrier lifts. From here on, he knows, the CCTV will be recording him. So he pulls his woolen hat down so it covers his eyebrows, then pushes the accelerator and takes himself further underground. Victor drives around until he finds a space up in one corner of the parking, where he reckons the CCTV cameras don't quite cover. He memorized the number plate of the Land Rover that the spies use when he left the tracker on the rear bumper. From his corner of the parking, he can see the vehicle is in the middle of the end concrete wall. He clambers over the driving seat and unzips the holdall that is sitting on the folded down back seats. He goes through the components and the wiring another 2 times, even though he checked it all back at Dusana's house at least half a dozen times. He wanted to put a mercury switch on the device so it would trigger by itself when they get into the Land Rover. But he couldn't get one, and he will have to do it manually, using a mobile phone. It means he'll have to stay here in the car until they appear. But it will be worth it. Victor rezips the bag and opens the side door of the Peugeot. He slings the bag across his body and walks closely to the wall of the car parking, ducking down between the vehicles and hoping the cameras don't catch him or that the security guards aren't looking. He reaches the Land Rover and pushes the holdall along the dusty floor until it is sitting centrally under the car. Then he scurries back to his car to wait for his prey. He leans a cheap mobile phone up against the front window that he will use to trigger the device. Then he settles back in the chair to wait. "We have our delivery," says Hans, poking his head around the door of Gabby's hotel room. Strewn across the bed are maps and drawings of the area around the hotel where they will attack Redwick. Kate is sitting in the centre of the papers. She has been pinpointing the exact dimensions of the building and the arrangement of rooms on each floor to inform her plan. Gabby looks up. "You mean your drones, Gordon?" "The drones come in a self-contained trailer that we can hitch up to the Land Rover." "Where is it now?" says Gabby. "A storage facility a few miles outside Budapest. I'll go and inspect it and practice this afternoon." "I'll come with you," says Gabby. "We've just got to finish these plans for Kate to navigate her way through the hotel. There are some security cameras to disable too, which I'll need you to do, Gordon. Can you look at these wiring diagrams now? And we can all drive out after lunch." Hans walks over and sits down on a corner of the bed. He explores the sheets that Gabby gives him, and the three of them work on without conversation while they concentrate. "Where's Jenny?" says Kate after some time. "I told her to go for a walk and escape for a while," says Gabby. "She needs to clear her head." Her eyes flick up to Hans. "I can look after her when we're out there in Bucharest," he says. "I don't want you to. That's not your job, Gordon." "It's teamwork, you know." Gabby's anger rises. "Look, she's either ready or she's not." Kate watches Gabby's face. "She's fine, Gab. Why are you worried? She's inexperienced. She did okay last time. She was just unlucky to get hit." Gabby looks reluctant. "We need her, Gab," says Kate. "We can't do it without her." "Okay, you two, I get it," says Gabby. And Kate and Hans exchange a glance of victory. After lunch, they descend in the hotel lift to the basement level and walk to the Land Rover. Kate gets into the driver's seat and starts the engine. Across the car park, Victor picks up the mobile phone in front of him, pulls up the stored number, pauses for half a second, then presses the call button. The call is made, and he looks up, expectantly. Kate moves the vehicle out and up the ramp to street level. She turns out into the traffic and heads west. Back in the car park, Victor's heart is beating faster than he has ever felt it. He stares at the phone, trying to understand what happened. He must have wired something wrongly. He can feel his anxiety build inside him. He pushes the door and runs across to the empty space where the Land Rover had been. The holdall is still there, sitting in the dust of the floor. He swears to himself, picks up the bag and hurries back to the Peugeot. He pulls out his own mobile phone, clicks through to the tracker app, and he can see that the Land Rover is heading out of the city. He pushes the phone into the cradle on the dashboard and heads out, after the spies. The sun sits low in the sky, and Kate drops the visor down to protect her eyes. They drive out to the Sesazayum-Bata district and turn off the road in front of 2 barriers and a guard standing near them. They drive into a compound and park up next to the fence. They have no keys to the storage unit, so go to the office, which sits in a large shed near the barriers. After several minutes of confusion, they find a manager who knows about their delivery, and he takes them to a warehouse on the northern side of the campus. The guy puts all his weight into pulling back vast metal doors to reveal a flat trailer. He waits for them to open the seals on the trailer, but Gabby has to direct him to leave. They watch him walk slowly across the yard and around the corner of the next warehouse before beginning to look at the drones. Victor stops his car in a country lane that runs alongside the warehousing and double-checks the tracker in his hand that shows the Land Rover is inside the campus in front of him. He pulls the holdall out from the back seat of the Peugeot and runs back along the lane until he is near the flashing light on his phone that shows the Land Rover is just the other side of the fence. He brought wire cutters with him, and he cuts a hole big enough for him to bend the fence up and slip underneath. He makes quick work of depositing the bomb under the Land Rover for the second time, then rolls back out under the fence and walks to his car. He drives up a short hill in the lane and turns his car into a gateway so he can see the Land Rover with binoculars. Hans breaks open the trailer and they unpack the drones. They lay them all out on the ground. Kate's gaming experience allows her to be the quickest at understanding it all, much to Gordon's frustration. Gabby tells him to take the controls, and he pushes the 2 levers together, and the swarm rises simultaneously off the ground. He goes through different sequences and flight paths, until he is happy that he knows what he has to do. They pack the equipment up and find that they have all enjoyed having a break from thinking about the upcoming operation. They seal the trailer, and Hans sets a remote camera inside the storage that will alert them to any intruders. They tell the manager that they will collect it tomorrow, then walk back to the Land Rover. The others get in, followed by Kate. As she slams her door shut, the sound of an explosion echoes across the empty space of the compound. "What was that?" says Gabby. She gets out to see what's going on. The others join her and watch a plume of smoke rise up near the fence at the top of the site.
"Explosive device,"
says Kate.
"That's not munitions, though. Not powerful enough."
"What is it, then?" says Gabby. But the others shake their heads. "Shall we go and see?" says Hans. And they agree they have time, so walk towards the pool of smoke that now has flames too, coming from its base. An ex-army jeep appears from the building by the gate and speeds across towards the fire. They can all see the manager sitting in the passenger seat. By the time the British spies arrive near the flames, the manager is overseeing operations and one of his employees is spraying water on the fire from a tank on the back of the jeep. "What was it?" says Gabby, as they arrive beside him.
"A car of some sort,"
he says.
"Anyone in there?"
says Kate.
Looks like there is, but we can't get them out. They'll be dead already, he says. I've called the police.
The three of them stay for a few minutes longer, then return to their Land Rover and drive back to Budapest. As the flames are thrown up in the sky, Dušana watches from her motorbike that she parked at the top of the slope. She thinks momentarily about Victor and how he could have made different choices in his life. She pulls out her phone and switches into encrypt. She dials a number from the store. "Agent Northfield," says a voice from the earpiece.
"Hello, Sir Bernard,"
says Dušana in English.
"The job you requested has been completed."
"All went well, Northfield," he says.
"Yes, regrettable, of course, that we had to remove Overbeck. But you were correct, that he had become uncontrollable."
"Are Agent Blackhawk and her team aware of your work?"
"No, sir,"
says Dušana.
"As agreed. I haven't met them."
"I thought we might need a plan B for Overbeck. So thank you. See you back in London."
"Sir."
The call ends. Dušana puts her phone in her jacket pocket, flips down the visor of her helmet, and rides away, back towards the city.